Hi, all. My name is James McKeever. I'm a sociology professor at Los Angeles Pierce College. And what you're about to see is a conversation held by the American Federation of Teachers Social Justice Committee about social justice during the time of Corona and beyond. There are some resources at the very end of the video that I've included so that you can access those if you'd like to. All right. Be safe. Thanks. Bye. So welcome everybody to our discussion about social justice during the time of Corona and beyond. And this is going to be a free-flowing discussion. I really appreciate you all being here because I know you're all concerned with issues of social justice, and that's why you're here. This is being sponsored by our AFT 1521 Social Justice Committee, and you're all welcome to join. Why I decided to have this conversation was generally we have our meetings on the last Friday of every month. And I know everybody was so busy trying to get things done for classes coming up that we canceled that meeting. But I also thought this is a group that really wants to discuss these type of issues. All right. So with that, I would like to invite Shigeru Suha, to briefly tell us who he is, where he works, and why he decided to join the conversation.
Hi, everybody. I'm Julio Tsuja. I teach sociology at Pierce and also the CAT lead at Pierce and work in the Social Justice Committee with James as well. And, when we were thinking about putting this together, one of the things that I liked about this idea is that we've spent like the past 2-3 weeks seemingly just putting out fires while we're also at the same time dealing with all these changes. Um, and while I've been able to have individual conversations with people about not just anxieties about coronavirus alone, but also what does this mean in terms of what are the big changes that we're going to be seeing coming in our society with our government and things like that. I haven't been able to have this kind of collective conversations, which we usually have a lot more when we're in our schools, when we're on our campus, when we're having our meetings. Um, and honestly just kind of felt nice to be able to have this space where we could have a free flowing conversation about it. So really grateful for all of you being here. Okay, I'm gonna pass it on to, how about Monica?
Everybody. I'm Monica. Wait, I'm unmuted now. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
you are.
Okay. I'm faculty at Pierce. I teach studio art and museum studies, and then I also run the college art gallery. And I really try to focus a lot of our programming on issues related to social justice and how link up our programming to things related to our student community. So that's how I found my way into this committee or this little area with our union. And so that's why I thought it would be a good thing to join. And I like the fact that it's connected not just to our Pierce campus, but also to the larger district, and looking at how we're gonna go about this right now, kind of boots on the ground response, but then also thinking about long term how we're going to respond for our students and how it's going to impact us in the classroom. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you. You want to invite someone? Oh, you're muted again.
Jay,
Yeah.
welcome. Does he hear me?
I'm not sure. Jay?
Hey, what's up?
Want to introduce yourself, Jay, and why you're here?
Jonathan Kling. I teach philosophy at Harbor College. I'm also a CAT lead there. I've never attended one of these committee meetings before, but I got a link sent out from Julio. So I'm definitely interested in, this committee and what it hopes to do. And I see the people that are involved in it, and I trust everyone. All the faces that I see right now are people that I want to get behind. So any way that I can help out and learn, that's why I'm here.
Thank you. We do meet the last Friday of every month at 9 a.m. online, so you're welcome to join us. All right. Do you want to invite somebody?
Yeah, I'll invite Lisa. I haven't talked to Lisa in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm Lisa Valdez. I'm the outreach librarian on campus. I'm just here because I like to know what's going on. And then I don't know where Mario is today. He's usually the union person, but he's probably doing some other meetings, and he's helping us all with our videos because he's the social media person. So for a lot of us, it's like, you know, old people learning how to do new stuff. So we're getting it together, and he's helping us really get on board with being online. And I'm just here to see how I can help and how I can serve, and how I can share information with the rest of the librarians and the other people in my CAT group. And I'll choose Robert.
Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Loy. I'm faculty in communication studies at Pierce College, and I'm really happy to be here. I got the email from Julio, and you know, I teach intercultural communication, and I did a lot of social justice work at Cal State Northridge. So it's something that I haven't really been focusing on, but I'm chair of the student support committee at Pierce, and we just had our meeting a while ago, and today about an hour ago, and I realized that you know, with all the academic logistics that we put together, like James mentioned at the beginning, our students are really suffering, and I think there's more that we can always do, but I think it's important for us as faculty and staff and even students to really listen to these concerns. So I'm really excited to join in on the conversation. So thank you for having me. And then the next person I'll choose, I think I'll go with Brian.
Oh, that's me. Hey guys, Brian Moe. I teach dance. Hopefully this thing is working. Yeah.
It is there, Brian. You're good.
Thank God. Yeah, I teach dance at Pierce College. You know, Julio emailed me, so I rose to it. Just being with dance is multicultural. We're out there. It's in every single culture. So it's been understanding. Already meeting with the students this week that they have so many concerns that they really look to my classes as a form of escapism, even though, you know, they can't really move too much in their room, but, you know, I try to get them doing what they can. Since I'm here, I'll turn to Shiloh. She's looking so pretty down there.
Hi, I'm Shiloh. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. We can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, great. So I'm in the kinesiology department, and so I got the email from Julio for today. And so I did miss the beginning of what James had said, so my apologies for being late. I want to be involved and want to know what's going on, so I can pass along that. I don't know what that back noise is. That's not coming from me. I do want to have the information so I can pass it along to the kinesiology department. Kind of like tag teaming off of what Brian said, like my students really, they're really feeling like caged animals a little bit. That's kind of like the information I'm getting back from them. They're really feeling tired. They're really feeling stressed. They're really feeling like they have no outlet. So at least for my classes, I've been able to do live streaming exercises with them. And so that's actually been something that they've really enjoyed because it's given them a sense of letting out stress, tension, and emotions. I also teach yoga, so they've been doing a lot of journaling, writing, but in discussion groups. So they've been able to help each other out in this new situation that we're in. And they've been very open with kind of what's going on in their lives, and they've been really good, quote unquote, counselors for one another, giving each other feedback and encouraging each other through all of this. But anything I can learn that I can pass along to my department and then also help my students during this time would be great.
Thank you, Shiloh. Would you like to invite somebody?
So I have to invite somebody on the screen. I missed the game. I don't know the rules.
Yeah, someone who probably hasn't spoken yet.
Okay, because I came late. Has Natalina? Can I nominate her?
Very good. Natalina
Okay.
hasn't spoken. Hi, Natalina.
Okay. Oh, hi, how are you? How are you guys? I'm the person that have to leave soon. I was looking at the clock. I'm Natalina Montero. I teach political science at East Los Angeles College. I am also the political director for our guild. And I think social justice is my middle name. Uh, I'm always fighting for people, no matter who you are and where you came from. I am going to fight for you. Talking about our students, I know Seyung is on this call. Maybe she can provide the link for you guys later. But the students at ELAC came up with a survey on those students that are student workers. They work in other departments, they work everywhere, and some of them have been deemed not essential staff, so they're not being paid. Some of them are almost at the brink of being evicted. Some of our students are, there is a lot of undocumented students at ELAC, and they all suffering. I had some of those surveys are hard felt. That is somebody that's supporting 10 people on a $500 that he gets from being a tutor at this Los Angeles college. I think Seung already put the website there. What we need from you guys is to see if you could send it to your students and ask them to fill in, those students that are student workers. So because we need to know, yesterday I brought it up um, to um, to our AFT meeting at ELAC, and a lot of people say, "Oh no, the students are working. They're working," but they forgot that those that are working are the tutors for math and English and the learning center. But those other ones, like assist our secretaries, and our secretaries is not there. The department is totally closed. What are they doing for money? So we really, really would appreciate it if you ask your students to fill in, ask them who are student workers and if they could fill in, because we're trying to go to the board of trustee and make sure that they all got paid. We want to attend the Zoom conference with the board of trustees. We are organizing that. We're going to have students doing, testimonies about what's going on with them. I'm going to leave it there, but as I tell everybody, I have 3 other meetings back to back, so I'll be leaving shortly. So thank you so much.
Would you like to invite Natalina?
Um, Maybe I could invite Young so she could say a little bit more about that. Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Julio, for inviting me. My name is Hayun. I'm an organizer with the Faculty Guild working to support our CAT district-wide. And I decided to join the call because, many people, I think, are realizing how unequipped our systems are to deal with a pandemic this scale. I saw in my Twitter timeline, someone said capitalism has its wig off. So I see this as a huge opportunity to not just organize our faculty and our student workers and our students, but with our community at large. So I'm excited for this conversation and to hear from y'all.
All right, thank you. Would you want to invite somebody, please?
Yeah, I'll invite Jenny.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jenny Galvez. I am a faculty coordinator, director of the Dolores Huerta Labor Institute. We're a district-wide program and housed at LA Trade Tech, so my office is at Trade. So my whole role is to develop labor and social justice programming, curriculum, and support across our district. So we're like it for that kind of work in our district. A lot of my focus has been on supporting the DREAM resource centers. So I've been working with undocumented students and providing services for them for most of my higher ed career, which is now almost 15 years. And specifically in the district, I've been working with our counselors, coordinators at each campus to build a center, supporting them. We were one of the first ones to do Know Your Rights in our district. So we kind of been doing that. We finally met last week on really trying to centralize district-wide efforts. So all the coordinators, we met yesterday. Yesterday. So we hope to share some of that centralized information with all of you soon. DHLI is trying to develop a scholarship specifically for undocumented students because, as we know, there's no federal support for them. So kind of a lot of the discussions in terms of that population, we're trying to gather and share because there's it's overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff out there, which is good. So we just want to make sure that our students know what's available. I've been trying to join this committee a couple of times. James has made a couple announcements that I just haven't been able to do because a lot of my fight is typically in the past have been when I do training. So I do a lot of trainings across the district. So a lot of that happens on Fridays. So I'm just really happy to be here because, yeah, I would love to bring some of that, the stuff that we're developing for undocumented students into the collective and add additional support and resource for all of you to support our students. So yeah, I don't know I guess I invited in Kathleen. I don't know if she already went.
I don't think she has. Before you go, Kathleen, I just want to say,
hi, I'm here.
Before you speak, Kathleen, let me just say one thing. For those of you who want to join the committee, even if you can't attend the meetings, you can join the committee. We were supposed to have an event over at Southwest, and Tina can tell you more about that, which I don't know how that's changed, but you can support events too as well, and the other things that we're doing as well. So thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Kathleen Yasuda. I am at Trade College, and I teach labor studies. And I joined the committee. I just have not had time either to come to these, and I am also a dinosaur, but now that I've been dragged kicking and screaming into this age and I've learned how to do these Zoom calls, I actually love it because, you know, being trapped in my house, I mean, I love my family, but it was really nice to see other people that I know. So I decided absolutely I'm going to take the time and come to this meeting. And I do I have in my department labor studies and community planning and economic development. Labor studies is like training people who want to be union thugs, you know, how to handle a grievance, how to negotiate a contract, things like that. And the community planning economic development is more about teaching folks how to work in nonprofits or some government agencies like public housing, things like that. So we actually teach people how to do social justice, in my view. So of course, I'm interested in it, but I just think this is the committee in our union that has all the most interesting people in it. So, oh, and I need to choose someone else. I don't know that I know anyone. Did Lisa already? How about Veronica? How about Veronica?
Did you hear? She might be away for a second.
Okay. How about then we invite Christine. Tina.
Hi, everyone. It's Tina. I teach at Southwest College Sociology, also part of this committee and the community and what did they used to call it? The Good and Welfare Committee, and now it's called something else. So basically that for the union. Was the work environment chair for a number of years. And yeah, we were planning, usually I do a big May Day thing. The Dolores Huerta Labor Institute has always helped out with that. And we were planning on doing something similar for social justice at Southwest this May, but we're going to have to see, you know, what we're going to do with that now. Good to meet everyone.
All right, thank you.
And I don't know who hasn't gone. Has Raymond gone already?
No, he hasn't.
Okay, so Raymond.
Hi everyone. How you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me, Julio. Not much really engaged with the college since I've been teaching online. But if I can get any chance to basically send out any good word about the committee to our faculty in our school, I'm willing to help out any way I can. Let me go ahead and mute this. I'm actually multitasking with the president's one, so that's it. Oh, you're leaving, Natalie? Natalina? You're taking off? Okay. See ya. Bye, Natalina. So that's pretty much it with me. But let me know if we can I can lend a hand in any way. That's all.
I think we still have a few people who haven't gone. Do you want to invite someone, or do you know who hasn't gone? You want me to invite them for you?
Who did not?
I think it's just Kevin.
Just
Kevin and also Veronica, because we couldn't get Veronica.
Okay, Kevin, where are you?
Hi everyone. My name is Kevin Chicas. I was invited by Rebecca Romo, a colleague of mine at Santa Monica College. I teach media studies for the Common Media Studies Department. I want to thank James, and I just want to extend my welcome to all of you. I'm really happy that I'm part of this simply because I've felt like there's kind of a bit of a deficit when it comes to organizing and talking about these issues so far at SMC, to be honest, and just to be upfront. I'm very active in terms of supporting initiatives focused on equity. I'm part of a faculty committee that developed a resource guide for new hires and existing hires on best teaching practices, equitable teaching practices. And I'm currently doing research with our IR department, where we're trying to figure out ways to better connect with our Black and Brown students. And I think, I don't know who was it that mentioned at the beginning about one of the struggles right now is putting out fires, which I think that I've been doing in terms of trying to be supportive with my students. I've noticed it's been a really rough transition for them to adapt to what we call at SMC remote instruction, what other colleges are calling that. I've had students who have taken in jobs because they have to support their families. I've had students who've had to take care of extended family who have health issues ranging from cancer to other illnesses. And I felt really just stuck in terms of what I can do in terms of beyond just what I'm doing. And it's overwhelming. You know, at SMC, we were given a very quick turnaround to do the transition to remote instruction. We were given technically about 3 days. And I'm pretty adept with digital technology, but also in the training that I did, some training that I did for faculty to use Canvas, use Zoom. I also noticed that there was a huge deficit with a lot of our senior faculty. And there's just a lot of gaps that I think, a lot of fires that you know, myself and my other colleagues at SMC have had to deal with. And basically, I'm just here to listen, get some strategies, see what other colleges, other individuals in other colleges are doing, how they're coping. Because in terms of my, I guess, my career as an educator, as someone who cares about pedagogy and action, the best partnerships and friendships that I've been developing is people outside of my discipline, outside of my department at my college. So I just think it's interesting that this is happening again, where I feel like most of the energy that's in this space is like energy that I really truly identify with.
Thank you, Kevin. One of the things I also want to bring up is that as part of the Social Justice Committee, we're trying to bring back the March in March, which used to be a march on Sacramento every single year. And one of the things we want to do is reach out beyond our 9 campuses to other campuses as well, Kevin. So hopefully we can help you organize students. We're hoping to do this in 2021, okay? Because it's kind of too late already for 2020, right? But 2021. Also, Veronica, if you're back, is there anything you want to share?
Hi, everyone. I had a little bit of internet issue, but my name is Veronica Allen. I teach child development and education at Mission College. And I was invited by Julio as one of the CAT leads for our campus. Child development at Mission has historically been very social justice and equity minded. We have been focusing, and we're extremely active and offer many events for students every semester on helping support them. And one thing we've been addressing in the last year or so is mental health and trauma informed support services. Last semester, we had Dan Siegel from UCLA. He does a lot of brain research. He wrote The Whole Brain Child and books related to cognitive function and our emotional coping skills. And so then we had a big mental health conference scheduled for this month, which obviously is postponed. So this is something that we've tried to address prior to this pandemic. And then in terms of my education hat, I teach a multicultural education course, and we talk about a lot of these social justice and restorative justice issues, and being informed in terms of, you know, preparing future teachers to be aware and to be better prepared to address equity issues. And so I'm interested in coming back to my department. We just had a department meeting yesterday, and we started to talk about how can we start to support our students experiencing trauma and that are at risk for, you know, some negative interactions because of being in small or tight spaces with a lot of other people and job loss, etc. I don't know that it is our teacher role to have an immediate solution, but if we can start a conversation on how we can begin to offer support, I'd love to take some ideas back to my department and my college.
You know, thank you, because that's part of what the Social Justice Committee is trying to do, is bring the AFT back to issues of social justice that goes sometimes beyond the college, all right, to the community itself. So with that in mind, let's go with our first question. So I wanted us to think about social justice issues during Corona and beyond. So since we're all educators, why don't we talk about the issues that you've thought about as far as education goes and social justice that the coronavirus crisis has brought up to you, and how you thought about it before, now, after, however you want to discuss it. Just some thoughts you've had. All right.
I could start just to very briefly. I just want to say that with remote learning and really this online education, I find that it's really harder to reach out to students because, you know, some of them just might not log in because they're at work. They picked up an extra few shifts at their job so that they could pay for things, for groceries and rent, things like that. So I feel like because of, you know, this coronavirus pandemic, it is really caused us to, I think, faculty and staff to be hyper aware of these issues, but at the same time, it's making it a little bit more difficult to reach out to students. And so what I try to do is I look at my Canvas page and see what students haven't logged in since March 30th. And so I'll send them a personal email or personal, you know, Canvas message. And so only maybe 2 students have responded thus far. But, you know, I think that's kind of a new role that we play, is to just reach out more than we've ever had before.
Yeah. You know, Robert, I'm glad you brought up the thing about how some of your students have picked up extra hours, because I don't think the campus or the faculty necessarily thought about the idea that if I do a live lecture at a certain time, that my students might not be able to attend, because of course they could attend before. But when you're low income, there's that need that if I can get some extra hours now, I better, because we're moving into a recession, right? So that's some great insight, Robert. Thank you. Anybody else want to chime in?
Going back on that, so one, I kind of mentioned before, one of the things DHLI has been working on the last year, oh, not sorry, but I mentioned this to some people in the group. We've been working on developing a report on students, on workers and learners, so individuals that work and go to school, at least work part-time and work go to school part-time. The report is on LA County Public Schools, so it was community colleges, Cal States, and UCs. So the report was supposed to be published this week. But because of this, we're pushing it back. There's a couple things that come out of the report that I could share, and also how we're pivoting. So we're pivoting also to, we're going through the IRB process right now to get the survey approved, to also now do a short kind of COVID impact for also the same student population. So I'll send that to you, all of you also, so maybe half of your students participate. But one of the things that we saw in the early data was that a majority of our students are working. So this idea, so just like, it's a fact that it's better to, it's highly, and it's better to assume that our students are working than they're not. The other thing, a lot of our students are retail and service industry. So meaning a lot of them have lost their job, and a lot of them are working in groceries where they're being forced to work more. So I think those sectors are important for us to understand the sectors that our students are working in, which are the ones that are being asked to be emergency responders, and also the ones who are cut their employments quickly and really and fast. So again, all the social issues that our students, you know, we're a high needs population, working class, first generation, all those things are going to be exacerbated right now. We're going to see, you know, it's going to be at a higher level. So I also got to speak because as we're trying to develop our scholarship for DHLI, I spoke with the foundation person for the district. And you know how they have the laptop giveaway right now, or the scholarship. They also have the Rouse $50 cards stuff. So those people who have been submitting have disproportionately been undocumented students and single parents. So again, remembering that a lot of our students are single parents, and now they are the lead income or providers for their families. So part of the survey, we're also trying to identify is the working environment of our students. You know, I'm a large family, so it's a lot of us in one household. And I can see the same thing happening with other students. Limited devices, maybe only one electronic device for everybody in the whole family. So what does that mean, right? Not having a quiet space to work out of. So all these different things are things that we're kind of starting to see and hear that I think I knew were coming, but I think it's always just to actually see it. It's also kind of, you know, where it's I think we're all going through that process. Yeah, the last thing, like kind of the other things that I kind of thought about with this transition is like the online education component, which I do think we want to talk about in the future of higher ed, because this push for online learning has been something that has been pushed on us for a long time. So now that this is happening, I think we do need to think about what we think about it and how we want to respond to this in the future as higher education faculty and staff.
Yeah. The other thing I think we don't think about is, do our students have a safe space to learn too when they're at home? There's domestic violence, there's child abuse issues that come up, and this is the place now that they're kind of stuck in. So there's a couple of people who've typed responses. Christine, did you want to talk a little further about the response that you had? And then CO, after that, can you also chime in about Healthy LA?
Yeah, and I also wanted to talk a little bit about the online situation. What I encourage my colleagues to do is to do more asynchronous than synchronous right now because of how difficult things. I am an online instructor. I've been doing it for quite a few years. And so as that, I know one of the reasons students, you know, are taking these online classes is because of, you know, all the things that they have to juggle with work and family, and also they like to be able to do it when they can. And since now everyone has kind of been turned into online instructors, it's going to be a lot more difficult to have everyone tuning in at one time. You're going to have things that, you know, happen in class that are going to be much more difficult with technology. So students coming in late and not, you know, to the chat, and you having to mute every other minute because they're not really familiar with stuff. So what I said was, as an alternative, is to have your lectures and videos taped and then set up different times of the day for check-ins, like, and have them so that they have options to do maybe a morning or later afternoon, evening, and have some different times to quote unquote attend class, but not for like the full amount of time, but just to kind of review the video lecture, go over any questions that they might have, that type of thing as an option. The other thing I want to talk about is I've been doing a lot of research around cooperatives, worker cooperatives, housing cooperatives, and so on. And it's what I'm organizing around now. And it's what I feel like we all need to be looking into the future with, you know, capitalism showing itself, as someone else mentioned. And, you know, just if we want to really get rid of all of these kind of exploitive and oppressive systems, we need to kind of look within to build these type of cooperatives. So I just put in the chat a few different groups that have been doing some really great webinars that you can check in with and organize with. If you're not familiar with them, there's a few of them in there that you can check out. I did a webinar yesterday with People's Hub. And that's another thing, like technology is going to be the new, you know, kind of giant that's going to be trying to rule our lives, you know, Zoom and of course Google and all of those type of things. So we have to kind of be real conscientious about that as well, and build kind of people-based systems and platforms so that we're not at the, you know, at the, so that basically we have an option other than, you know, an oppressive one. That's what I wanted to add.
Thank you. Brian, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, so being the fact that I teach dance, I know Shiloh can kind of feel this because she does lab-based. It's been crazy for us in the dance world, trying to navigate all this. Luckily, my district committee, we've actually been meeting regularly on Zoom since all this began. So we've all kind of attacked the same plan way where, yeah, you have to be sensitive to the fact that not everybody can be on Zoom at the same time. I had students who came on who had just got out of work, or their parents needed the internet for theirs. We have to keep in mind that we might be asking them to do, because we're movement based, you know, we have to do an assessment of moving to understand that there's a corporeal knowledge there that they can't gain from reading or watching. They have to learn by doing, right? So to assess that through videos, we have to also be conscious of maybe they don't have the Wi-Fi strength, or they're going off data, or there's all these other plans. So I mean, it's when we talk about, I know there's a big push to go online, but you know, there are some disciplines that just cannot, for just reasons of equity, go online to accommodate. And so we're kind of struggling with synchronous and asynchronous. I'm giving both options out there. I'm trying to do as much as I can to be sensitive to whatever is going on with the students. We've seen students already, you know, take the EW and drop because maybe they didn't need the class, and those who do need the class are worried about how it's going to affect. We had a talk today, you know, I know the CSUs and UCs have all gone past no pass. Community colleges really don't really have that option because there's a grade that's necessary for transfer. So I mean, that's still coming down from the state and God knows where. So you know, it's up in limbo. Everything is so liquid right now, and it's just the need to be sensitive all around is really just kind of unfolding itself. You know, we're seeing this live, real time, like melting down of society, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. You know, a couple things that you mentioned as far as the internet goes, it also made me think about how we really need to do what other nations have done and just have free, high-speed internet for everyone. Free and open, high-speed internet for everyone. We'll never have this issue again. Then everybody will have internet, and then also the pass no pass. The only issue is they haven't really been clear about how that's going to affect transfer students trying to transfer over to colleges or people trying to go to graduate school. So what is going to happen with that? So I see a hand up for Veronica. Did you want to add something in here, Veronica?
Yes, I wanted to talk about the remote teaching versus online teaching, and I think that with this paradigm shift of having everyone go to online instruction, you know, many of us should not forget the conversations that are probably going on at our different campuses in terms of the DE committee, and at least at my campus, a conversation about the process of being DE certified, the process of going through curriculum to determine which classes should be a distance ed course. And now that we have all shifted to whatever, you know, a person is calling it, we should really start to develop the language that is specific to the concepts. Like online DE are those courses that have the pedagogy and the experience of the instructors that were teaching online prior to this pandemic. And remote teaching, it really includes everyone that was mass trained in a week within our in our district that is maybe doing a range of virtual instruction that can include, I'm just going to sit in front of my camera and Zoom every week versus what the real DE online pedagogical practices are. And once this pandemic is over, we can't lose sight of that in terms of bargaining, in terms of what the contract includes, because there are many instructors, when we talk about equity and access to students, that because of a lack of proper training, and it doesn't mean they can't become proper DE instructors, but they're not there yet. You know, they've never logged into Canvas prior to this. And so they're not quite there yet. And so when this is over, we need to have real strong positions on, it doesn't mean everyone can teach online. And then the last thing I want to mention is that I started meeting with students virtually this week. And I did post a survey in advance on Canvas where I asked students a lot of the questions that we've kind of been exploring, like, do they have a laptop that they can access on a regular basis? Do they have access to the course textbook? Because we had a lending library and half of the class borrowed a book, the other class may or may not have it. I had like a list of questions to help inform me on how I'm going to move forward and prepare what I'm expecting of them based on what the group can actually have access to now.
Yeah. One of my worries too, as far as this goes, is that online students are a very specific type of student. And predominantly working class students of color do not like to go online, and do online instruction. So I'm also worried that we're going to lose a lot of students in this next 6 months to a year. And because we're making these classes fully online in this environment that's very uncomfortable for a large group of our students. So that's an equity issue I worry about too. Sion is next, and then we can get you after that, Jenny. How's that? Okay. All right, go ahead, Sion.
James, I know you asked like what are some of the issues that are coming up, and just to put a face to the issue, I wanted to read something one of the students wrote in the student survey. And this is a student from East, and they said that, I am one of the only 2 people in our household of 5 who work. My mother works part-time as a babysitter and house cleaner. My father is disabled and cannot work because he has a severe heart condition. My brother and sisters are minors. My family depends on me and my mother to make enough food for rent. Currently, I'm the main provider. I pay rent every month. I would literally be homeless if I am unable to cover my expenses as a student worker. So, the things that come up is, not only is this an education issue, but it's a healthcare and labor issue. And also other students have been saying that as student workers, they are facing eviction from losing their jobs or having reduced hours, and they can't provide basic necessities.
Thank you. All right. And then I think, Jenny, you had a comment also?
Yeah, in regards to losing students for the future, we're already seeing it in outreach. So again, speaking to the DRC coordinators, some of them, one of them teaches high school students, and I guess the high school students are not being as responsive. And even in our outreach efforts, as we're trying to contact them, because some are already applying, or trying to get them to come, they're not as responsive. So I think that it's important to, yes, discuss that we might lose more students if we maintain online.
Yeah. And I see something Lisa wrote that relates to this idea that I think those of us here probably really care about making this as easy a transition for our students as possible. But as Lisa, if you see the comment that she wrote, some professors just said, just write a paper and that's it, and they were going to just leave it at that. There have been professors who've just refused to go online. And this is a big issue for students because I don't think we think about it. We think that, oh, they'll just lose a semester, but we're delaying their ability to graduate and make money, for a lot of these people. And some of our students, the more vulnerable ones, they're just one good excuse, not a bad excuse, one good excuse away from not going back to college. It took me 9 years as a low-income single father to get through community college. But man, in today's environment, I don't know if I could have got through. I don't see any hands, but if anyone else wants to chime in, or we could move
Monica,
on.
do you have a comment?
Go ahead.
I can't find my raise my hand button.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I'm still learning this whole process.
If you look at under where you click participant or something like that.
Oh, it's under participant, not under chat. Okay. It's interesting because during this whole time period when we've been talking, I have had my student workers who are texting me because they're having difficulty figuring out how to fill out a timesheet because they don't have the resources at home in order to figure out how to deal with an Excel spreadsheet when they're trying to do it via a phone. So this very thing that we're talking about, I'm dealing with in real time, and I'm trying to like text them and say, we'll try this or try that, because they don't have the technology in order to access a particular form of software, because they're limited in what resources they have at home. So this is one of the things that I would say this is what I'm seeing. I'm having to train students, my student workers, how to now, in order to still get paid, in order to still have hours, we're having to learn here with the gallery how to put the gallery online and suddenly do a virtual gallery. So myself and my student workers are having to figure out how to do something none of us know how to do. So I'm training myself, I'm training them. They don't necessarily have the resources at home, but because they need the hours and want the hours, we're figuring it out. So obviously it's like we're creative, we're resourceful, but I'm thinking, this is happening to our other student workers in other situations where it's either you do it or you're not going to get paid or you're not going to have a job. And if they don't have the capability, either software or computer or whatever at home, then they simply will not have, they won't be able to get the rest of their award. And it took until this week for me to get a meeting with my chair and my dean in order to find out what they were going to get to do. Meanwhile, I was sending word to say, hey, I need to know what's going to happen with my student workers. But this was low on administration's priority list to, figure out what they could do. As far as real-time examples, I've had a number of students drop with similar situations of them sending me emails saying, I'm the caretaker for my parent, and I'm not in a situation where I can continue to, do what I need to do. I have a health condition, I'm at high risk, and it's just too much for me to handle. Another thing that I was thinking about in terms of equity and delivery is, I know that I'm aware of a situation where not all of our students have access to the technology in order to be able to engage with the classes in a way that makes it easy for them. If they have to turn in a paper, you can't write a paper on a phone. And if we saw these issues already prior to this, how do we find out who those students are? Because they're not necessarily going to let us know, hey, I can't really engage and be active in my class because all I have is my phone. And we have those students who their only way to really get their work done was either through our library or going to a cafe or going to McDonald's. And now suddenly all of those resources are no longer available. I let the students know about the portal so they could get a computer, but then I rapidly had them say, they're all gone now, what do I do? And I'm thinking, if there was some sort of central place that our students could find out, here are the resources within our district, out in the community, because right now it's very piecemeal. But if this is going to be a longer range thing that we're going to have to do, if we knew that there was a place where we could send our students, whether it's from Mission, from Valley, from Pierce, and we could say, here's where you could go to find out if, where something is available, that would probably be really helpful. Because we can share it right now amongst ourselves, but what if we hear via another faculty member that there's, hey, this student in my class is looking, that I feel like that's a way that we could kind of project out into the future.
For this AFT Social Justice Committee, we created a Canvas shell. And if you want to join the committee, even if you can't attend the meetings, we can give you access to the Canvas shell. And people have been sharing great information here. What we could do is kind of create a live document there that we could have resources on there, and people can keep adding resources to it so that people can access it and then share that with other people. I think that might be really helpful. Jonathan, I think you're up next. Kling?
Hey, so just to reiterate what Jenny, Brian, and Robert were talking about. So it seems like, and at Harbor, this is becoming just an everyday issue that you only have one laptop that's being shared amongst 5, 6 people. So you can't have you know, your students attending your Zoom lectures, right? And so students that live in households where there's one laptop per person are automatically now doing better, right? It's now easier for them to open the gate. And another thing that was brought up was like, and I think Christine brought this up, I'm sorry.
You can call me
That,
Tina.
Tina.
Yeah.
Tina brought this up is like, we're asking some faculty to pretty much learn a new career in 1 week. And teaching online is tough. Like it is. And I'm finally just really getting the hang of teaching online. I've been doing it for 2 years. And so when you put together the fact that maybe there's only one laptop to share with the fact that instructors, a lot of them don't know what they're doing, I just worry that like when it comes to gatekeeping, this is causing a bigger problem. That is something that James brought up was like, we already have an issue with students and like certain standards that are unrealistic from instructors. And I just worry that right now, that's going to be amplified.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up. I hate gatekeepers as is. Even before this crisis, I spoke out against gatekeepers because I don't understand how Donald Trump can graduate from Wharton School of Business, and you have George W. Bush graduating from Yale, I believe, okay? And both of them are, excuse the expression, dumber than dog shit. And yet at the same time, we're so hard on our students who are predominantly working class, predominantly students of color. And then this situation comes up where, yes, I am not an online professor, so my students should not get punished for that. So what I told my students is, all you gotta do is give me effort, and even if it's a failed paper you turn in, you're gonna get nothing worse than a C. If you just turn in your work, I will guarantee you nothing worse than a C, because you're not an online student and I'm not an online professor. And we have to really think about how we're affecting the future of this generation of students. Kevin, you were up next.
Oh, thank you. Wow. I'm glad this is being recorded because I feel like I'm going to be listening to portions and take notes. I mean, for me, I just kind of want to focus in terms of technology and equity, because that's sort of my area, and that's sort of what I have been talking about extensively with colleagues in one-on-one Zoom meetings, and sort of taking the temperature of my students through Canvas. So one of the things I've done is sort of, I've set up discussions where I just have them sort of vent and let me know what's going on. And that's been a way for me to sort of informally collect data and information, but in a way that isn't invasive or intrusive, because the however the students want to communicate about what's going on, that's okay. But I also have made myself available. I don't know who mentioned this, but I track Canvas user activity hours. So if, I know there's been a lot of students that after like the 25th or 26th just stopped checking into their Canvas modules, and I made it an effort to reach out individually via email and via Canvas inbox messages. And I think that's a great strategy to just let students know that they still belong, regardless of where the course is or the class is taking place, if it's remotely, or if it's on ground. But for me, like, there's two fronts that I think have been brought up implicitly in this discussion that I think we need to start to think about in a very urgent, critical way. One is the impact of Silicon Valley, or in terms of the gatekeepers there in using their resources to probably exert influence over how the future of education should be. Because these debates over not just internet-based education, but just computer-based education are really old. They've been going on since the late 90s. And they're familiar, very, very fatiguing types of conversations, because even amongst our own colleagues and friends across the aisle, we have very, very divisive and distinct opinions and perspectives on that. because it's so connected to the issue of access and equity. And I think what's happening with Corona and what's happening with the impact that Zoom had is that it's become sort of the predominant technology, the predominant platform, but it also has amplified so many problems. One is the rise of hate speech, computer-based, internet-based speech. So there's been a lot of articles that have been focused on this phenomenon known as Zoom bombing, where there are people that are getting access to Zoom URLs because they're being publicly posted on social media accounts, on Facebook posts, et cetera, or even emails. And there's one student from one class that may share that Zoom URL with someone else who may just crash one of those meetings and harass an instructor or other students while class or that remote version of class is going on. So I've seen some email threads at SMC pertaining to faculty members that have complained, like early on, like within 48 hours of us making a transition, of it reporting instances of harassment. And at our college, we had no protocols in place in terms of disseminating information for best practices, informing faculty members what to do if they were being harassed or how to protect their students in those instances. So these are urgent matters that I think there needs to be, in terms of, there was conversation about, this open document adding resources, and that's awesome. But I think there needs to be a lot of focus on best practices with respect to using technology, using Zoom. And there's some stuff that's coming out online, but it needs to be collected, it needs to be rewritten and redisseminated in such a way that if you're someone who has no type of tech literacy, you can pick up on that stuff and be prepared. If you're someone who has a lot of expertise, getting that information can still be helpful for you to reinforce what you know. So I think that's one thing. The other thing is I want to talk about briefly is the effect that these technology gaps have on faculty. So I've had several colleagues who reported to me that they have had to spend more money getting faster internet, faster broadband connection at home. And one of them told me, like, shouldn't it be the responsibility of SMC or any college to provide us any type of compensation? Because some of us, like I'm an adjunct and a lot of my colleagues are adjuncts, and we're having these issues where, many of us live paycheck by paycheck. Many of us are incurring expenses that we didn't have to before. But with respect to technology, like getting a faster internet access at home, if we just used our cell phones, I mean, that's an extra added expense that creates amplifies a bigger issue with respect to access. So I think that's the thing that I'm concerned about right now, because a lot of us have been caught blindsided by this, where even those of us who did a lot of pre-preparation, we've had to adjust so quickly and so fast. So I think it's been addressed by 2 or 3 individuals so far, is that we need to look at these things very critically, very urgently. And the last thing I want to say is it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be pissed off at the fact that what the effects of the coronavirus has had on education, and in terms of amplifying inequalities amongst racial, ethnic, class, socioeconomic, sexual, gender lines. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to channel that anger, but we need to act now. We have no excuse anymore. Like, if there's anyone who is thinking passively and says, oh, this is something that we can table for the fall, this is something we can table for next year, I think it's kind of ridiculous at this point. We need to start to take action, take very proactive steps. And I'm very happy. It makes me feel really good right now to be in a space where I'm hearing, other educators literally taking action right now because they really care.
Okay, sorry, y'all. I agree with you. It's one of the reasons why we have the Social Justice Committee formed. By the way, our theme for our Social Justice Committee is respect our students and their futures. And that's what our goals are around any issues that we're working on is with that concept of respecting our students and their futures. And all these are major issues that are coming up. So another person who has a hand up, I saw Veronica put her hand down. So Julio Shigeru, go ahead.
So Kevin, I just want to say thank you very much, because what the last part of what you said was everything I kind of wanted to say myself, that during this time, you know, someday during the coronavirus, this social distancing time, some days I feel better and some days I don't feel so good. And today was one of those days that I wasn't feeling so good. And just being able to have this conversation, honestly, it helps a lot, because it gets my organizing juices going. And this conversation is not so much about organizing as much as, like, you know, we wanted to just have a round table, but I can't help it. So I was just having ideas that I want to throw out there, not because I want to hash them out here, but just because they're on my mind. You know, so Yun just wrote about how even Zoom is now selling our information online. And this is a really good example of how, if anybody's read Shock Doctrine, Disaster Capitalism by Naomi Klein, you know, it's times like this when governments pass policy that they can't pass when people are paying attention. But at the same time, I think it's an opportunity, because it brings up a lot of things that, I don't know, people were never talking about. So the example that Soyu brings about Zoom selling our data online, I've been saying for a while that we need to, not just as educators, but as a society, really push for an online Bill of Rights. Because obviously when the Bill of Rights was created, they were not thinking about what we're going through right now. And so much of our lives now happens online. And obviously, I don't know that this committee makes that happen, but I'm just kind of like putting it out there for a little bit. The other thing I wanted to say was that, yeah, a lot of the inequalities that we're seeing that are being exacerbated right now, yes, they're getting worse, but for a lot of our students, this is just, okay, finally, we're paying attention to stuff that they've been experiencing for such a long time, right? Like conversations about there's only one laptop in the family, if there is that one laptop. You know, I think this situation also expands our conversations like healthcare for all to, like what James said, internet for all. Internet becomes a human right at a certain point when society, you know, puts it at that level of necessity. And in terms of what are the kinds of things that we can do, which is one of the things that Kevin was bringing up, these are just ideas that I was thinking about. You know, we need to have I don't know what you would call it, almost like an educator's manifesto of like everything that's going on right now. A document that we can create that we can just like, you know, send throughout the entire country for all educators to sign on to. And that document could include things like internet for all, healthcare for all students, and really for everybody. And I think we can also get creative with ideas of what other things we can do. The other day I was talking to Chase, who's our organizing director for our district, for our union. And then he was saying that people are doing car protests. Have you heard this? I don't know if anybody had heard this, but when I heard about that, I was like, what a great idea. You know, we can't go out and be massive, but we can go take our cars and like just block traffic, even though there's so much less traffic now. But ideas like that, they re-energize me, and spaces like this really make me feel like there's stuff that we can do to you know, make some changes. So those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, I just want to say this is why these are things we could do for the March in March. When we were first thinking about the AFT Social Justice Committee, we were thinking about concepts of health care. We were thinking about concepts of free education. And when Kevin asked, is this the time? This is the exact time we need to do it. Because as Shigeru was just saying, if we don't do it, it is the capitalists who will take advantage of this moment, right? So we really need to push to get an agenda for working class people, for our students, and for our communities. I saw that Veronica had a hand up, but the hand's down again. So I don't know if she wants to talk. And then I have Brian next.
I just wanted to make a quick comment back about the laptops. I know that is a major issue that's ongoing. We had Senate yesterday, and in the academic affairs report, we were informed that the district purchased about 8,000 laptops, and only about 3,000 had been issued to students, primarily through those drive-by pickups, and that now those drive-by pickups have all been stopped due to increased health precautions, and that the district is now mailing out, that they said that they still have laptops, and that they're mailing out about 500 per week. So I'm not sure if that's just because of the time it takes to be able to issue and mail out 500 devices a week, but we should encourage students to continue to contact their student services dean, VP, or through their student portal to continue to seek out the status of their laptop request.
All right, thank you. Brian, you had a comment also?
Oh, yeah. So I just had a thought that occurred to me when Julio was talking. It was something we just discussed in our district dance meeting, is that a lot of us have students that are dual enrollment students, so we have high schoolers and things like that, which actually legally cannot be on video unless they sign a waiver and all that. So it makes the Zoom idea crazy. And then some of us teach lab-based, so how do we see them? And so, I mean, it's this whole crazy area. And I know some people, we were discussing, we just moved with some of our students this week, and some people don't have their video option up. And the thing is, we'd like to see them. I mean, I try to show them that, my workspace is a mess too. I'm totally decluttered, and this is my home office. It's a mess, and I love it that way. I can function here, but I find comfort in it, so for whatever reasons, we can't really force them to be in a recording. I mean, they might be embarrassed about what space they're in. They might be, at the living room with a family of 5. So, I mean, there's a million things that have just come up and arise. And it really does show the need for us to all help each other and to pick each other up and to be sensitive and understand how can we give our students the best education while tackling these insurmountable obstacles. It's crazy.
Yeah. And these are a lot, all things that we're thinking about. Felipe, you just joined the conversation. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, first of all, I just wanted to apologize to you all. I just finished my class a little while ago with my students. I have a class this morning. By the way, we had a great class. I do poli-sci 1, and we covered civil liberties and civil rights today. And we watched Berkeley in the 60s. So when Julio was talking about it, I was getting all invigorated along with my students. But I just wanted to add to the discussion about the laptops. Among all the different issues that we discussed with my students this morning, we talked about laptops, access to food, CalFresh resources, financial aid, EOPS extension. Maybe that could be a larger discussion for in terms of social inequities. Talk about increasing that financial aid. That could be a legislative fix, perhaps in federally and in the state. We also talked about jobs and housing, how that's changed. But I did want to mention this note that I believe all the different campuses have different policies. I understand from when my students were telling me that the dean or the VP in student services at East LA College is asking for everyone that needs a computer or laptop to submit the request by today. So I'm getting that message out to my students. I believe every campus is handling that situation differently. And this may be something that we take to the district as and talk about these inequalities or a lack of resources per household that some of our students are experiencing. So this is something that maybe we may need to discuss with the district, making sure that all our students at all our campuses have access to that technology, and this may be an issue to address. That's what I wanted to chime in about laptops and computers.
Thank you. Jenny, you also had a comment, and I also want to keep in mind that we've been going over an hour, so I want to be conscious of the fact that all of us are very busy with transitioning and doing the online thing and grading. But I'll keep the conversation going for a while. So Jenny, you had a comment.
Yeah, in terms of the laptops, so it seems that there's the district ones that are online through the foundation. So it seems that the bottleneck is people. So they need people to go through the applications and then do the whole process of mailing them out. So just encourage students to continue applying. And then it seems that each campus has their own loan or own system. So I would encourage students to go through both avenues and see which one works best for them or is fastest, or to give them access. So yeah, so just FYI.
Thank you. I wanted, like I said, be conscious of everyone's time. So I don't know if anyone has any closing comments or any other remarks that they want to make right now. I'll leave a second for anyone to raise their hand or start speaking. Okay.
Real quick, James, did you say
ahead.
you're going to put all those links up in that Canvas group? Is that what you said?
I absolutely will, because there's been
Okay.
so much information that's come across. I'm going to put that all up there with some other information that I've been given earlier and stuff. And then you all we can make it a live document and we can keep adding to it. I want to invite all of you to join the Social Justice Committee. Even if you're not from our campus, you can be, let's say, an outside consultant member, okay? Whatever we have to do to make this thing expand, because it's about the concept of social justice, not just the AFT itself, but the AFT is a big portion of it and moving them in that direction of social justice. So does that answer your question, Tina?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other
James, real quick, I think there's an option to save the chat. I don't know if...
Yeah. In the recording, I'll save the chat as well.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
James, should we, like, real quick, just do a check-in in terms of how people felt about this and how we want to see this move forward?
I just want to be conscious that when we did our real quick check-in in the beginning, it took us 25 minutes.
No, just not everybody, just anybody wants to say.
Okay, all right. So maybe a real quick 1 or 2 word check-in about how you felt about this. Okay, all right, thank you. I mean, I guess you could just unmute yourself and do the check-in.
Energized.
Say thank you everybody for doing this. I really appreciate it and really want to see you come back.
Thank you for inviting us.
It was a great conversation, even though I logged in late. I apologize for that, but it is refreshing. It's re-energizing. Thank you very much for putting it together.
All cool over here, guys. Thank you.
Peace.
It reinforces that there's many people fighting on the same page for me.